Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is ChaosMole and today we have another rundown episode for you for the patch notes for Warhammer 40k Darktide. This is patch 1.0.20 aka the Signal. This is a pretty important patch because it's not just the patch notes with fixes and bug issues, fixes and all that stuff. No, this is also a patch with new content, because this is one of the most requested things people have right now in Darktide, that they want more content, no matter what it is. And this time we are getting a new map, which is Complex 154/2F, which is apparently an HL 1924 Archivum. Yep, that is apparently now the newest map. And they also added two new weapons, one for the Zealot and one for the Ogryn. And the Zealot is getting the Indignatus MK4E Crusher, a two-handed power maul for the Zealot. And the Ogryn is getting the Atlas MK1 power maul, a one-handed power maul, which is pretty cool. Pretty good for me because I am playing both of those classes. So, yay! But for everyone else, you have to wait a little bit longer for new equipment to drop. Also very important, they now added private play in the missions, where you can choose how many people can join your mission. So you can now play the whole thing with just 2 people or with 4. Or you can even say like, okay, I only want 3 people in here, and that also works. Does it mean there will be less enemies because of that? As far as we know, no. They made it pretty clear that the game doesn't necessarily get easier for it. I just hope you have at least 2 bots which will follow you around. And then if you're like super slow with a friend, you might be able to manage like level 3 missions. But I fear that if you want to do like level 4 and level 5 missions, you need people. You need people for that. I'm pretty sure of it. Refine is also now available in the Shrine of the Omnissiah. This was one of the heavy requested things. It's actually still a little bit unfortunate that we still don't have the whole bandwidth of crafting. In the previous video, I actually talked about the issues with getting loot in Darktide and how this would all make it a little bit simpler to us if we could just, the loot we are getting, we could actually change some things on the loot and make it more personal, right? And well, we are kind of getting this with the Refine update, but not all of it. So what is Refine doing? Refine is, you can now choose a single perk which will lock other perks. Perks in the item card view will show their tier through the number of diamonds next to the perk, ranking from 1 to 4. Each refine action taken on the perk will see a cost reduction for resources. And there's also a new condition for the missions, which is hunting grounds, and rejects will have to fend off increased numbers of POC sounds. Great. That is definitely something I need in my life. Let's not. But this is pretty important to change some perks, because what a lot of people did is they grabbed some pretty high stat numbers on gray items, upgraded the gray item to be on the highest rarity, right, like mastercrafted, and then they got shitty perks. They couldn't really do anything with it, and they did throw away the weapon. It was a complete waste of resources. The stats were great, the perks were shitty. Now at least you have a chance to, if you have like a perk which is really good, or 2 perks which are really good, but then the last perk is kind of shit, you can just fix that. It's a bit what Outriders did, if you've ever played that. I never liked the system much, because that means it would be really locked in with just changing that perk, and then the other perk might be mediocre, and you can never change that. I never liked the idea, but that is what they are doing here. So This should help a little bit to alleviate the item issue a lot of people are feeling they have right now with the game. The chat window is now available in the loading screen, so you can finally ask who has the potato and why it takes so long to load the game. That's nice, I guess. Yes. The option to merge a strike team during the end of the round screen has been temporarily removed while we improve this functionality. What they basically mean is nobody used it. Ever. Like, I haven't used it. I haven't seen a single other content creator or even talking to my friends who have ever used this. Like, even if you were in a good strike team, most of the time we were splitting just apart, and then you were looking for another random group. Yep. They added now 2,400 Aquila's packs, so cosmetic bundles can be purchased at face value. This is amazing. I hated this. The whole idea of, hey, here's a cosmetic pack for 2,400 Aquilos. Oh, didn't we tell you that we don't offer 2,400 Aquilos? But you basically have to buy the 2,000 Aquilos, and then you have to buy the 400 Aquilos, and boom. Now you have enough. Well, actually you had a little bit more because they gave you more Aquilas than that. But it just like, oh, come on, man, just offer me this directly. Like, I hate that with free-to-play games, right? Where they're putting a price tag on the skin and then you cannot buy that fake currency. I hate that. It's such a predatory thing to do, and I'm glad that they're actually moving away from that. This fixed apparently a lot of performance issues. Can't talk about it because I never had any stability issues with GPU crashes or disconnects. Like I'm one of those unicorns which apparently never had issues with the game. I know it's weird. It's absolutely weird. And I don't even have the top of the line hardware. So but I know that a lot of people had those issues. I've seen them more often than not. I even have friends who are suffering from that. So awesome. I hope it actually works. Contract and penances, they have apparently fixed some issues here, right? So that's nice. Some new localization stuff. They fixed some of the weapons, like a lot of like bug issues and whatnot, which is good, nice. But what is important is they also did some changes and some tweaking on some of those weapons. So the first one and the biggest one, well, the first one, let's just say that, is the Monitorum MK3 Power Sword. They tuned down the cleave on powered attacks from infinite to simply a very big cleave. 8.5 to 12.5 cleave range, which is around 10 enemies. Yeah, before that it was basically just cleave everything. It was pretty strong, to say the least. They added also a damage fall-off on targets beyond the third on heavy activated sweeps, scale from 130 to 260 at targets 1, 2, and 3, downwards to 50 to 100 at target 8+. That makes sense. Like as I said before, there was basically a meta happening more and more around cleave weapons. Like what a lot of people did is they took a cleave melee weapon, because there were some cleave melee weapons which were just absolutely disgusting of disposing hordes, and then their range weapons were specialized on taking out special enemies or boss enemies. And that basically became the established meta more and more and more. And that's really unfortunate because I'm running right now a flamethrower for the hordes, and then a specific axe, which is pretty big in doing crits and is doing bleeding damage, and I enjoy that, but basically I'm not playing it at an optimal level. If I really wanted to play my character on an optimal level, that was basically the way to go. Cleave melee damage, single target range damage. And they are now changing things, which again, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. We will see how it goes. They cleaned up the sides a bit. They increased the time until forced shot across all marks after a full charge. Decrease ammo consumption on fully charged shots. Yeah, that totally makes sense. A lot of people have been complaining about this, that when you charge the shot on the Lucius pattern last guns, it was just too much. It was just too much, and it wasn't really worth the damage you would get out of it. So let's see if that helps. They also reduced the charge time ranges until fully charged. That is also pretty good, because, as I said before, it took too long sometimes. It took far too long. They reduced the chain time for MK3 bayonet slash, increased damage versus armored and resistance on low charge near far from 40 to 50 and from 50 to 60. So they buffed the heck out of the Lucius pattern lasguns. And that's good, because a lot of people never really liked to use that weapon. It was too much. And we will see if now people will start to use it. I totally understand that this is quite a bit of balance they have to do, because this weapon is designed to do a lot of oomph with one shot, right? But at some point it was just, yeah, you could have get the same effect from other weapons with less tedious. So makes sense. They also tweaked the plasma gun. They increased the clip size range from 75 to 150, from 60 to 100. That should help quite a bit. Yep, the clip was laughably small. Still, one clip in reserve with matching adjustment. Improved vent durations. Both active venting is now 3 seconds, down from 4 seconds, and passive venting is now 15 seconds, down from 20 seconds. Good. Again, the venting was another big issue people had with it. There were just other guns who could do the same amount of damage in much shorter time without the venting. And yeah, I can totally see why they did it. Adjusted vent speed curves over thresholds and lowered the high threshold to 60%, down from 17. Time scale of venting are now low, 80%, high 50, critical 25, and was 50, 125%. 50, 120, that is such a weird way to show it. The return vent damage to a player, it should be in the same ballpark, but scale more aggressively, so lower overcharge gives less damage. Okay, so they want you to vent more and not just overdo it all the time. Allow heavy charge shots to continue after shooting through geometry. Entry and exit both create explosions. Whoa, that's pretty good. Yeah, so they want you that you vent early, and that you are also using the passive vent a little bit more if you can do it. And that should probably help. Oh, the stub revolver. This is actually a weapon I started to use a little bit more. Increased ammo reserve from 25 to 40, from 35 to 70. That's a huge jump. Yep. Like it always, as somebody who had 35, so was in the middle with my revolver, it didn't feel great. It didn't feel great. Like I even had some moments where I didn't want to use the revolver on specials because I was a bit afraid of the ammunition. Increased far range from 23 to 35. Good. So they are actually now treating the revolver a little bit, not like a sniper, but they give you more range on that. Increased high and base damage range to 200 to 400, and it was 200 to 350. Okay, max damage is a little bit better. Increased hit scan range to fix issues where no hits would be detected at the very long ranges. Yeah. Hitting a shot and then realizing, wait, I didn't get the damage? What? What? That was so weird. That was so weird. I hated that. Yeah, this could actually mean that the revolver will now see some usage. They also tweaked the racks, the Headhunter autoguns, reduced recoil, vertical rise on all Headhunter autoguns. Interesting. So they increased the damage, which is good. A lot of people don't use autoguns. They also tweaked the Tolsky heavy swords, increased baseline damage armor mod versus flak armor, increased baseline impact. So they basically increased the damage against armor types. And the same goes with the light attacks, which makes sense. Like the heavy sword was definitely also one of those weapons where I always had the feeling they're better weapons. They're just better weapons who can do the same job as good, if not even better, than the heavy sword. Will that change now? We have to see. Then the Thunderhammer got the increased light attack and increased heavy attack baseline against flak armor and carapace armor. Increased by, well, 15% against flak armor and 5% against carapace armor, which is good. The Thunderhammer always felt like it's a monster in certain situation, but in other situation it just felt like you are hitting an enemy with a wet paper. It's not too many moments where I just didn't like the Thunderhammer. Yeah. So good. Fixed an issue where the Zealot Preacher's ability Chastise the Wicked could get interrupted if used while having been pushed by the enemy attacks. Yup. Happened to me more often, and it really sucks when you only run like 2 meters with your special abilities, and then you are in the middle of a group of enemies and you're like, hi guys, how are you doing? Please don't murder me. Like, ooh, horror. Absolute horror. Oh, fix an issue where the Psykinetics inner tranquility talent causes slower quell speeds. I have seen some other streamers complaining about this. I've actually seen some streamers be like, is this slower? What? Like, super weird. They definitely felt it sometimes. Yeah. Fixed an issue where the Zealot Preacher would dash through enemies if they were too close. I know exactly what they are talking about, but I always thought that's a feature? Apparently not. It's a two-edged sword, because on the one hand, you could dodge through an enemy, yay, you are now at the back, but sometimes it wasn't consistent, and you would dodge through them, and you would just lose the target. You're like, whoa, where am I? Where's the enemy I just dodged? And then the enemy is already behind you or at your side, and you were getting the next hit in. So it was always a bit like two-edged sword, right? Cool, you could dodge through enemies, but most of the time you would put yourself into a bad situation. So yeah, I can understand that. Fix some issues where the Poxhound could launch into the stratosphere. I always thought that was a feature. I loved it. This one. Move the spawn point of Demon Host from respawn location in the power matrix. Didn't happen to me, thankfully, but I've seen it, I think, twice or 3 times at least in the YouTube video / stream, and I was like, wow. Putting the Demon Host directly on the respawn point of some people, that's savage. That's savage. Yeah. And then they fixed like most of the issue, like the diamantine you couldn't pick up in the access vault. Yeah. Just a lot of bug fixes here. Nothing too crazy. But this is pretty good. Also very important, Ogryn feed should not longer clip through the floor in the Morningstar. And this is actually important. Aspect scan targets should no longer remain outlined after completing scan. A little bit confusing sometimes. I got used to it, so I just remembered what I already fixed, but it was still scanned, but it was still confusing sometimes. So glad that they are fixing this. Awesome. But yeah, those were the big changes, I would say. Also very important if you are looking forward to use ray tracing on your AMD RX 6000, 7000 series, you can now do that. Yay! Kill your FPS. Do it. I dare you. But yeah, that were the patch notes for the Signal, aka patch 1.0.20. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Is it enough content? We will see about that. Probably it's never enough, but that's a pretty good patch. So get out there, rejects, and kill some heretics in the name of the Emperor. With that said, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it and also subscribe to the channel if you're new here, if you want to see more patch notes rundowns, and of course more Warhammer 40k Darktide guide videos. I'm also streaming here from Monday to Friday, starting at 8 AM ET. Not till the beginning of next year, because I'm now on my vacation. And yeah, I will be on my vacation. There will be some more videos here on the channel. You still get your videos. That doesn't change. We have to please the algorithm gods. But live streams, not till January 2nd. With that said, the Emperor protects. Stay safe. Bye-bye.